Council meeting, we have myself, Councillor Sophie Wade, we have Deputy Mayor Councillor Edward Crossland, we have Councillor Herschel Landers, we have Councillor Bridget O'Brien, Councillor Amanda Stone, Councillor Claudia Nguyen, Councillor De Vietri. I believe Councillor Anab Mohammed is on the way but not with us yet, and Councillor Jolly is on a leave of absence. I now have a leave of absence to move for a coming month. That in accordance with Section 35(4) of the Local Government Act 2020, Council grant leave of absence to Councillor Herschel Landers for all meetings held from 1 to the 30th of the 1st to the 30th of April 2022 inclusive. Do I have I'll move that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Crossland, all those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We don't have any announcements on the agenda tonight. Do I have any declarations of conflicts of interest from councillors? No? Sure. We did not have any confidential business reports this evening. I'll move on to the confirmation of minutes. Can I please have somebody to move that the minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday the 25th of January be confirmed? Claudia, Councillor Nguyen, thank you, and Councillor Crossland to second. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. We now move to public question time. Public question time is a time for members of the public to come along and ask a question of the Mayor and possibly staff members if it gets directed on. And we have a question tonight from Eleanor Pappas. Eleanor, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'll just confirm you can hear me.
We can, but you're quite quiet.
Okay, I'll have to speak up then. It might just be my microphone. Good evening and thanks so much for the opportunity to address you tonight, and thank you to Councillor Landers who has already engaged with us on the issue. My question relates to the provision of a safe pedestrian route for residents of the Burnley Pocket to Richmond Primary School. So I'm a resident of the Burnley Pocket, which is bordered by Madden Grove, Burnley Street, Barclay Avenue and Loyola Grove. And there are approximately 15 families from this pocket that attend Richmond Primary School. And this includes new prep students, families with multiple children, and also families with younger siblings who must travel to and from school each day. There are two possible ways that we can walk to school, and both at the moment present with extremely dangerous pedestrian hazards. A number of families from Burnley Street across Swan Street also use these routes so as to avoid walking along the busy Swan Street to get to school. So there are large numbers of families using these two routes every day. One route takes us along Barclay Avenue, which is where the freeway tunnel exit comes out. And there are a number of hazards for pedestrians along this route. The pedestrian intersection crossing Burnley Street is regularly blocked by trucks and other vehicles during peak hour. The light sequence doesn't leave enough time for small children to safely cross Burnley Street. There's a small traffic island at the freeway exit, and it's not big enough to accommodate bicycles and prams, and nor is the holding space on the footpath at Burnley Street at the corner of Burnley and Barclay Avenue. Cars, including large trucks, travel at 60 kilometres per hour along Barclay Avenue, and there's no buffer or nature strip between the road and the footpath. And I note there was tragically a fatality of a car driver there in the past 24 months along Barclay Avenue. There's a pedestrian path then, once you pass this, that leads along the MFB, and then you come out where Rooney Street then meets the freeway or the tunnel chimney and cross across there to Coppin Street. So the pathway here, where you cross Rooney Street, is blocked by 3 bollards, which present a huge hazard for bikes and prams and anyone with mobility issues. There are parents with commuter bikes that simply don't fit through the space left by the bollards, and they're not compliant with requirements of the Disability Discrimination Act. In addition, there's no pedestrian crossings at either Rooney Street or Coppin Street, and this creates confusion for motorists and pedestrians because there are speed humps there but no pedestrian crossing. So it's very unclear who has right of way. That's the one route. There's a second route that we could possibly take, but again, there's several hazards along this way. This other route takes us along Madden Grove and then under the Burnley Street Bridge. This route is particularly dangerous because there are no pedestrian crossings. There's no pram-friendly crossover that connects one side of the road to the other, and there are two roads that you need to cross, and there's no connecting crossover for either of them. Cars regularly park across the driveway that could be used as a crossover in the slip lane that comes down the side of the Burnley Street Bridge. And there are blind corners at both sides. This creates a lot of confusion around vehicle turning movements because there's a few different rights of way that apply for cars. So the cars are confused, and then when you add pedestrians into the mix, it becomes extremely dangerous. In addition to this, there are trucks and other work vehicles that are often parked underneath the bridge, and it's often used for storage of these vehicles when works are being undertaken on the rail line or surrounding areas. Often this passageway is also used for metro buses that are replacing trains, and again that creates a whole lot of pedestrian traffic, and it's very unclear who has right of way when crossing under the Burnley Street Bridge. With children actively being encouraged to walk to school and the number of children in the Burnley area who attend Richmond Primary School increasing every year, I'm afraid it's only a matter of time before there's a terrible accident along one of these routes. My question to Council is, what can Council do to improve the safety of this walking route from the Burnley Pocket to Richmond Primary School? Thanks very much.
Thank you, Eleanor, very much for that question. I'll answer this. So there's been some discussion internally about this because councillors have received information about it and they've passed that on to officers. We will also, I think officers have already been in touch with you, Eleanor, about discussing some of the finer points of all of that, because obviously there's a lot of detail about road use, some rule following, some lack of rule following, and maybe where that can be cleared up, and also looking at things that can be done on the roads. I think it's also worth flagging, and I'm not sure if this has been explained yet or not, that Burnley Street and Barclay Avenue are managed by the Department of Transport, and that includes the signalised lights at the intersection. So already our officers have been in touch with DOT to try to clarify that, and perhaps could put you in touch as well if you'd like to clarify anything further with them. And yeah, obviously there's quite a lot of issues here. Richmond Primary School has a lot of students going to it. It's something that needs to get sorted out, and so I think the strategic transport team will work with you to see what can be done. There's lots of detail. The biggest thing I think to come out of this is we've got a transport action plan coming up to councillors soon that we've been really looking forward to, and our officers have been working really hard on, and one of the parts of that is going to be about improving access to schools, because it's Richmond unfortunately is the only part of Yarra where it's not as easy to walk or cycle to school for kids as we would like, and so that's kind of going to have a broader look across the board at what we can be doing to do it better. I happened to have a discussion with one of our school crossing guards last week, and she was raising to me issues in Clifton Hill and how she thought they needed more space, and there's obviously a lot of ideas about how to make this better, and getting our kids to school safely is a top priority. So lots of work is being done, and on the detail that you've raised, people will be in touch. So thank you very much for getting in touch with your question, and look forward to hearing how it goes.
Thank you. I appreciate the response, and again, thank you to Councillor Landis for his work already in this area.
Thanks, Eleanor. And yes, I've seen some pictures from Herschel which were helpful as well. Sorry, Herschel, did you have a question?
Yeah, quick question.
Councillor Landers, sorry.
Thank you. First of all, thank you to Eleanor for bringing the issue to our attention. I think it's a very important issue, and I'm really thankful that you have brought it to our attention. Also, thank you to the officers for their quick response in this. They've certainly they've stepped to the plate, and they're out there working for you. So I think you should be reassured. My question to the officers goes in relation to the commentary about the bollards on the pathway at Copper Street. Now, as I understand that those bollards were put there to stop kids using the bike path as a ramp to go across the road and then into a makeshift bike track that was built on some land by Transurban, if I'm not mistaken. My question to the officers, have we been speaking to Transurban about how that land can be sort of more utilised to make it a bit more sort of friendly in that sort of environment?
I think I'll transfer this to Mr. Levers, and Mr. Levers, you can direct it however you'd like. I'd ask officers probably keep reasonably succinct, as we're getting into quite a lot of detail here.
Mayor, thank you for the question. I'm not able to provide a response on that element. I'm not sure if Mr. Phillips is able. If not, we're happy to take it on notice and provide a response. I just asked Mr. Phillips to advise whether he does have a knowledge of that.
Mayor and Mr. Levers, no, I don't. But as Mr. Levers said, happy to look into that. I'm sure there's some history there. We can talk to Transurban, as we've already started the discussion on the relevant parts with the Department of Transport. So we'll look into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks again, Eleanor, for coming along tonight. Okay, next up, we move to Council Business Report. And we have first up item 8.1, progress update on the Yarra Energy Foundation from July to December 2021. Councillors, would you like a report? Yes? Okay, and we'll go to Mr. Phillips and Mr. Oak.
Mr. Oak will take this one. Thank you, Mayor.
Brilliant.
Councillors, just to give you a quick summary of the report that you should have in front of you. The report, it provides an update on the progress of the Yarra Energy Foundation, or YEF, in relation to the KPIs within the funding agreement that they have with Council. YEF currently has a one-year funding agreement with Council, and that's for this current 2021-22 financial year, and the value of this agreement is $370,000. So the expectations placed on YEF to deliver are contained within the funding agreement as 4 broad statements as key outcomes sought, as well as key performance indicators or deliverables that are held within the report, and they're to be reported on after 6 and after 12 months. And the key outcomes sought and deliverables are within the report that you have. The report itself focuses on YEF's delivery of the first set of these key deliverables, which are in the funding agreement. So that's from July to December 2021. And the report highlights that YEF has met all the KPIs that were expected of them through this agreement with Council. The report notes in particular that YEF has been awarded significant grants in the funding period. That includes to install a community battery in the City of Yarra and also to establish a new metropolitan community power hub based in the City of Yarra, as well as other outcomes that are contained within the report. Additionally, YEF was requested to develop a new business plan towards financial independence and self-sufficiency, and again, this has occurred. YEF has also published their latest annual report, and that's been attached to this report, but it should be noted that that covers the previous financial year, not the financial year that we're in now and reporting on. The officer's view is that the first 6 months of this funding agreement, YEF has made solid progress against these outcomes that were sought of them by Council, and you have in front of you the recommendation that's being proposed.
Excellent, thank you very much, Mr. Oak. Councillors, any questions?
I haven't got a question, but I do have a way forward.
Okay, I'll stick with questions first because I know I have one. Mr. Oak, there's a point here about arena charging grants for electric vehicles and an additional 3 being installed in 2021-2022. Could you just speak to that a little bit more? I think I knew Yarra had received the arena grant for the Collingwood Town Hall ones, but this one I think is news to us.
All right, thank you, Mayor, and apologies. There is a lot going on in this space from YEF and from us, so apologies if I haven't passed it on. But there was funding from ARENA, which is for destination charging points for increasing tourism and bringing people into places where they want to drive and park or charge a vehicle. We were successful in applying for that funding, and we're putting in grants as putting in the charge points as we've already done at the Collingwood Town Hall. Additionally, within the City of Yarra, YEF was part of an application to put 3 charge points within the City of Yarra additional to the ones that we're putting in. We consulted them in the lead up to that and supported their application to do that. They were also successful. So I have sought an update recently to see how that's progressing. I'm told it's progressing, but not anything more solid to be able to share with you beyond that.
Brilliant news. Thank you, Mr. Oak. And that wasn't me criticising you for not telling us. It was me being very excited about the news. I had another hand up, but it's gone. Councillors, do I have any other questions? In that case, I'll seek a way forward. Councillor Stone. Sorry, that was muchness there. I went to...
Happy to move the officer recommendation.
Sure. Do I have a seconder for that?
No, but can I say that I would like to move a way forward too?
If Councillor Landers, if Councillor Stone's motion fails, you're welcome to, or you're able to speak against this motion if you'd like to. I just go in order of the hands as I see them, and I saw Councillor Stone's first once I called for a way forward.
Would you like to hear what I'm proposing so that maybe Councillor Stone may wish to include that in her motion?
You could seek to amend Councillor Stone's motion if you'd like.
So I'm seeking to take out some words in the officer's proposal, the words significant and showing solid progress.
Councillor Stone, do you accept those changes?
No, I don't.
Okay. Councillor Landers, would you like to formally move them?
Yes, I'd like to formally move that motion, please.
Okay. Do we have a seconder for that formal amendment?
Sorry, Mayor. The motion can't be formally amended until it's been seconded, so we'll need a seconder for Councillor Stone's motion.
Thank you. I thought I might have missed that step. Councillor De Pietro, you putting your hand up to second? Thank you. Now, Councillor Landers, you can formally move that.
I would like to formally move my motion to just adjust the words in Part B to...
Sorry, Councillor Landers, you're moving that as an amendment to Councillor Stone.
Correct, yes. Thank you. That the word significant... the word significant be deleted in front of work, and the words showing solid progress be deleted in front of on delivery.
Thank you, Councillor Landers. Do I have any a seconder for Councillor Landers' amendment? Councillor O'Brien. Okay, so now, councillors, we're voting on, and Mr. Thomas, please jump in if I've got this wrong, but we're voting on whether Councillor Stone's motion will be amended to include those words.
We are, subject to Councillor Landers having the opportunity to speak to the amendment.
Of course. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. That is very helpful. Councillor Landers, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Thank you very much indeed. Look, in general terms, I think I have no problems with the report, and I thank the officers for the report. However, in moving this amendment, I do have several concerns to the wording in the report that need to be identified. I have concerns that in the attached financials dated 2020/2021, there's no detail of the percentage of sales from commissions or consultancy work as a percentage of total income, and also comparisons with the year 2019/20 to support the claims in the report that significant work is being delivered against approved key performance indicators to date. And I think that the community has a right to understand where the word significant comes from if it can't be displayed. I have concerns that, as stated in point 7 of the report, that the pilot project will, the word is will, is what I contested, will demonstrate the technological and commercial viability of neighbourhood scalable renewable energy storage. And I have concerns that there's no reference to the challenges such as, but not including, the lack of localised pricing benefits, the number of partners involved who will be seeking a return on investment, and the competition from alternative network management solutions, and therefore why commercial viability may not be a given. I have concerns that the Yarra Energy Foundation is seeking to facilitate 200 new community batteries, as stated in the report, across a city power network in Victoria. And given the capital cost of the pilot trial is nearly $1 million to provide a 100 kilowatt stroke 250 kilowatt battery, there needs to be clarity how a proposed $200 million project will be funded, and if it would represent best value compared to, say, $190 million, 240,000 kilowatt, 480,000 kilowatt hour big battery located in Mornington. I have concerns that the report talks about the pathway to financial self-sufficiency without referencing the challenges facing the power consultancy business in a very competitive environment with many interested players, and one of the reasons that the Australian Energy Foundation was recently put into administration. On the other hand, the positive side, I congratulate the Yarra Energy Foundation on the successful grants from the state government and look forward to the opportunities that could flow and help to encourage and motivate more people to adopt sustainable energy practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landers. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you. I just wanted to hear the debate for the sake of inclusive decision making. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor O'Brien. Do I have anyone speaking against the amendment? No. In that case, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment to Councillor Stone's motion?
With the amendment? Oh, yeah, it's an amendment.
The amendment to Councillor Stone's motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
That motion fails or doesn't pass. Sorry, Mr. Thomas, what's the language?
It is fails.
Okay, it is fails.
Or is lost.
Too negative. Is lost. Okay. In that case, we'll proceed to Councillor Stone's original motion, which was moving the officer recommendation. Councillor Stone, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you. Yes. Look, to acknowledge briefly the amendment that was put in the arguments put, it's actually not about the details of that tonight. Tonight is the report on the delivery on 4 KPIs and 7 deliverables. And by anybody's standards, reading the report, this is detailed in the report, and councillors have also received briefings from the Yarra Energy Foundation. They have been significant achievements. This funding agreement so far is less than 6 months old. It was agreed to quite late in the first half of the financial year. So YEF has really punched above its weight in delivering on what was expected in that funding agreement. The amount of funding that's been delivered, the scale of the projects, the respect with which the work that YEF is undertaking is held in the renewable energy sector Australia-wide and amongst local government. It is seen as leading the sector. There's no doubt about it. And I think we really need to acknowledge that a not-for-profit can deliver extraordinary things in this area. We have a highly qualified board. Some of them are the best in their sphere of work. One of them, who departed at the end of last year, recently received an Order of Australia for his contribution to the environment and the renewables sector. The calibre of people who are voluntarily giving their time to provide renewable energy for the community, free, you could not buy that as a council. So it is an extremely good deal, and as I said, this is about acknowledging the KPIs and delivery on them. But when there's an attack on the hypothetical future of what might or might not be able to be delivered, I feel it's necessary to actually outline the benefits of having a not-for-profit that is so highly regarded and at the moment being so successful with a limited budget. I think that needs to be pointed out. YEF has delivered against the KPIs. That was the purpose of this report. They've delivered against the 7 deliverables, and there's every indication they will continue to do so in the second half of the financial year.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. Councillor De Pietri.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to back up the words that Councillor Stone spoke just then, and to thank the Yarra Energy Foundation for their work to achieve these KPIs and deliverables. Community battery, EV charging stations, supporting the significant uptake of renewable energy in our community. Thanks also to officers, in particular Michael Oak, for working closely with YEF to support them in meeting these KPIs. And I'd like to also thank all the board members of YEF for their time and commitment to the organisation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor De Pietri. Do I have any speakers against? In that case, I'll go to the vote. All those in favour? And that motion carries. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. And we'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Mr. Oak, and thank you, Mr. Phillips. Next item, 8.2, the Swan Street Streetscape Master Plan. That's a mouthful. Councillors, would you like a report? Yes. Susan Staines, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Ms. Staines. Over to you.
Thank you. Yes, it is a mouthful, so I'll start with the Swan Street Streetscape Master Plan. Will provide the strategic basis for future public realm works and development along the 3-kilometre stretch, which stretches from Hoddle Street to the Birrarung. Along Swan Street, the scope of the possible works is focused on the existing footpaths as council manage them and does not cover the road space between the curbs, which is managed by Vic Roads. It focuses on the footpaths along Swan Street and entries to side streets. It also includes the areas directly off the corridor that link to Richmond Library, East Richmond Station and Burnley Station. The project commenced in January 2021 and has been through the stages of analysis and opportunities, a first round of consultation in June last year, then the preparation of a draft master plan, another round of consultation in November, and now the final master plan based on community and stakeholder feedback. So the final document is now ready for endorsement. The possible future programs that are outlined in the document are quite extensive, and they would provide improvements to the public realm areas of the Swan Street precinct. These could occur through council adopted and budgeted strategic projects, through allocation of grant monies from other levels of government, and also possibly through some negotiations with future private developments abutting the spaces identified for improvements, so a number of funding opportunities there. The report also notes that through the 2 rounds of consultation, Council did receive some out-of-scope feedback from the community about improvements to the road space, including wider footpaths, graffiti, cycle lanes, and removal of car parking and the like. These are all outside the scope of the project. However, these issues have been acknowledged and documented in the master plan and the consultation report as a reference for future discussions with relevant agencies as projects arise. The master plan is ambitious in identifying a range and breadth of opportunities for improvements along the corridor, but it provides a well-considered strategic approach with a strong basis of community support for future enhancements. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Staines. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Landers.
So I've got to get my mouse to the mute button and it never works. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Yeah, in terms of out-of-scope works, I've just got a couple of questions and seeking clarification. I note that some areas around East Richmond Station, Richmond Library, Burnley Station and Ryan's Reserve were noted in the scope of the Streetscape Master Plan. Just for clarity, can I ask what happened with Richmond Station and some areas of North Cremorne in terms of why they weren't necessarily included, or if they were included, why weren't they sort of acknowledged? And the other point I wanted to make was in terms of the out-of-scope works, the bike path under Swan Street is pretty bad, and I was wondering what were the opportunities for an improved bike path, shared footpath scenario under the bridge, noting that the road, it was a curb-to-curb scenario, but still, if an opportunity arose, could that have been put on the shopping list for further opportunistic work?
Ms. Staines, are you happy to answer that?
Yep, is that all right, Bruce?
Yes, it is. Sure.
Okay, sorry. So with Richmond Station, I've written some notes, so I'll just refer to those if you don't mind. So when we were scoping up the Streetscape Master Plan, we held quite extensive discussions internally in regard to that precinct. There were already significant works in Swan Street between Hoddle and the station due to the Streamlining Hoddle Street project, and these included quite a few things like changing the parking configuration, tree planting, resurfacing of the footpath, new street furniture of bike hoops and furniture and seats, landscaping of the northeast corner of Hoddle and Swan, and a new accessible tram stop in Swan Street. We were also very aware that Big Track is investigating or is planning to investigate the feasibility of new design options for the station, which is a massive undertaking, and it would require a total redesign of the site. So these interventions that could happen in the future would necessitate massive changes in the street and the interface with the station, impacting every piece of public realm in that area. So at the time, we made the decision internally to perhaps take that out of this, or not perhaps, to take that out of the scope of the Streetscape Master Plan, because we didn't want to give any proposed designs initiated from Council to set up community expectations, because we didn't feel we had any strategic directions for this particular area. Therefore, we left it out of scope. So I hope that helps, Councillor Landers.
And the bike path?
The bike path is out of scope, but we have included a number of design recommendations for the footpath, the underpass, artwork, improved lighting, better surfacing, better handrails. But in terms of the bike path, I think that's probably an advocacy role for the future that we could manage, and I think that is proposed to be included in the final recommendation. And the other one, Cremorne. So overall, our streetscape master plans are aimed at linear corridors where there are activity centres, and then intersecting streets and the opportunities in those intersecting streets and key locations very close. We did consider the northern section of Cremorne. However, with the extensive amount of work that's happening with the CPIP for Cremorne, we felt that it probably was duplicating or even perhaps not investigating the full opportunities that we could do there. So we've left that section up to the CPIP, but we could refer to it in the master plan. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Daines. Thanks for your questions, Councillor Landers. Any other questions, councillors? Oh, Mr. Phillips, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh, just very quickly, Mayor, just for the benefit of the gallery, the CPIP stands for Cremorne Place Implementation Plan. There's also a number of other strategic pieces of work happening down there, planning studies, access and movement studies. So just reaffirming what Ms. Daines has said, there's a lot of work, other projects, other documents being prepared down there, and also the topic about bike access under the viaduct. That is out of scope, but we've already started approaching DOT about that, and that's a matter of advocacy, so it's sort of separate to the master plan, but that is a topic that I share. There's some concerns about bike safety there, and we'll continue to take that up with DOT. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. That's helpful additional information. Also, for the benefit of anybody watching at home, if you can't see, sometimes I have electronic hands going up that I'm not reading minds. Councillors, any further questions? In that case, I'll seek a way forward. Councillor Crossland.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think you were going to say what I was going to ask.
Okay. Yes, I have a way forward. It is to move the Office of Recommendations with amendment.
Excellent. I'll ask Ms. Niku if you could put Councillor Crossland's amendments on screen if you have them. Councillor Crossland, I'll ask you to state these, to state them directly by speaking them aloud, and then I'll seek a seconder.
Can I offer another alternative amendment to Councillor Crossland's amendment, if I'm allowed?
I might get Councillor Crossland to state his amendment first and then seek your amendment, Councillor Landers. Mr. Thomas, is that the best process?
Thank you.
Yes, I would think so.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you, Mayor. So there's just a few minor wordsmithing changes, but under 1C, note that the Swan Street roadway curb to curb was not in scope of development of this master plan, given the uncertainty at this stage about when the DDA compliant tram stops will be implemented by the state government along Swan Street. Note both the final Swan Street Streetscape Master Plan and the engagement report and their content as shown in the attachments. That Council further note that the purpose of the Streetscape Master Plan is to inform possible future capital works and opportunities in the public realm, areas of identified in scope of works. And in this regard, these opportunities are only shown conceptually. That any implementation of these concepts require a significant degree of further site investigation of various services and also the careful detailed design to maximise the improvement to the public realm for the benefit of the community and alignment to Council's adopted strategy of outcomes. That any opportunities to progress to a project stage will need to have regard to a number of other detail aspects to enable a comprehensive design that brings numerous elements together, and that these include but are not limited to the following possible elements to form part of those detailed design considerations: provision of disabled parking bays in side streets, provision of possible electric vehicle charging bays in side streets, opportunity and capacity for common utility trenches for services, potential for any undergrounding of current overhead services, whether the specific area would serve as a useful location with the parking of bikes and scooters, inclusive e-scooters and e-bikes or the like, maximise the width of footpath pavements with no impediments to the movement of persons with disability devices, opportunity for the planting of upper canopy trees, and, if we go over page, thank you, Ms. Niku. Opportunity for other forms of greening, such as vertical greenery techniques, and that the draft master plan be supplemented with an additional section immediately before the master plan design strategies, referring to the elements as stated in C above, for consideration in the detailed design analysis of projects that are taken forward for capital budget consideration. That subject to changes as outlined in 2, C and D as above, Council adopt the final Swan Street Streetscape Master Plan as shown in Attachment 2 to enable the proposal to inform future capital works of Council, other public authorities, and also that of private abutting developments. And further to that the interim CEO be authorised to settle the final Master Plan document that aligns with the resolutions above. And in Part B, that Council authorise officers to continue to purposely advocate to the Department of Transport for improved outcomes along the Swan Street road space for both cycling and pedestrian safety and comfort, and in particular underneath the train viaduct area. That Council instruct the CEO, along with the Mayor, to seek a meeting with senior officials at Department of Transport and Yarra Trams to purposely advocate for the full implementation of the DDA tram stop program in Swan Street, with the priority being adjacent to the East Richmond and Burnley train stations. And in this regard, the Mayor write to the Minister for Transport Infrastructure and the Minister for Public Transport, and also to the local Member of Parliament, advising of this Council's determination and requesting the Government commit to the installation of integrated DDA tram stops along the length of Swan Street within the next state budget. In this regard, officers seek further information from Department on the intended design of the DDA tram stops in Swan Street, their typology, and the intended locations, and how they would be integrated into the street fabric from an urban design point of view, and to then brief councillors further once this information is received. That Council reiterate the importance of expanding the open space network in the municipality, as articulated in the adopted Open Space Strategy 2020, due to the low level of open space in the area and to service the expanding population through the very significant development pressures that has been experienced, and its commitment to implementing further open space provision in the municipality, including South Richmond and Cremorne areas. Further, the Council instruct the CEO, along with the Mayor, to seek a meeting with the CEO of VicTrack and other relevant parties to purposely negotiate the Wangaratta Reserve, located to the north of Swan Street, and as noted with the expansion of current park in the Swan Street Streetscape Master Plan, be significantly enlarged with VicTrack consent into the road reservation surrounding the reserve for the overall benefit of the local community and visitors to the area. That the Mayor write to the relevant ministers for VicTrack, being the Minister for Transport Infrastructure, the Minister for Public Transport, and the Treasurer, and also the local Member of Parliament, advocating to enable the expansion of Wangaratta Reserve through a rationalised use of the road reservation currently owned by VicTrack of Stewart Street and Wangaratta Street, which the reserve abuts, and that officers utilise concept designs that have been prepared for the expansion of Wangaratta Reserve and relevant surrounding streets to aid in the above discussion and negotiations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crossland. I think I'll seek a seconder first. Mr. Thomas?
I'm happy to second it.
Excellent. And were you proposing to put amendments to it, Councillor?
I want to just one word in this. What is an excellent motion? The word sympathetic in paragraph 6 or sort of point 6. It refers to the installation of integrated DDA tram stops. I wanted to use the word and sympathetic, and I'll explain my reasons why, but mainly because they sort of relate to what has been implemented in Bridge Road that weren't sympathetic. So it's not just a case of being integrated, but it's also to be sympathetic with the environment in which they're being put in. And if
Crossland, do you accept that change?
That change sounds reasonable. Yes.
There was one other point. I was going to suggest adding the work underneath the railway viaduct in paragraph 7 as a further, that would be 1X, but I did notice that point 5 really does talk to the purposeful avocation, so maybe that's enough and we don't need to go there. Would Councillor agree with that?
I would agree with that. I think there's adequate statement already in the motion.
I agree. Okay then, I'm happy to second that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Landers. Miss Niku, were you clear in recording it?
I was just going to ask, sorry, Mayor. Sorry, Councillor Landers, can you repeat what you wanted in paragraph 6, please?
So the words, the second last line of paragraphs of item 6.6 refers to the government commit to the installation of integrated, and I want to add the words and sympathetic DDA tram stops along the length of, and sympathetic. Sympathetic, yes.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Niku. Councillor Crossland, would you like to speak? Councillor De Fietri, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, is it appropriate for me to ask a question at this stage?
I don't believe we've proceeded to debate, so I think that's fine. Mr. Thomas, jump in if I'm incorrect.
No, that's fine.
Thank you. I think I just would like a bit of clarity from the officers as to whether the word sympathetic is a word that can be readily understood by those who need to understand it. It doesn't seem necessarily clear to me what it's seeking to be sympathetic towards.
Mr. Phillips? Or Ms. Daines?
Yeah, okay. No, we'd normally say something like responsive to the character rather than sympathetic, which
okay, I'm happy with that.
Design terms. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
We might need to clarify that for Ms. Niku. So they commit to the installation of
integrated DDA trams. Oh, sorry, it's not up to me to say.
Perhaps let's get it back up on screen, Ms. Niku, and then I think we all just need to look at this. It's a bit confusing.
I think Mayor, it was integrated and responsive, I think was the phrase that was suggested.
Excellent. So we'll just remove sympathetic, add responsive. Ms. Daines, are you satisfied with that?
Yes, that's fine.
Councillor Landis and Councillor Crossland, are you happy with that?
Yep, that's fine.
Excellent. In that case, I'll get that pulled down again, Ms. Niku, so we can just see each other. Thank you for being agile. Question
Thank you to officers.
Satisfied? Excellent. Okay. Councillor Crossland, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. First off, thank you to officers for their preparation of the report, the presentation tonight, and the preparation of the Swan Street Streetscape Master Plan and the engagement report. How exciting is this? Swan Street is such a fantastic place, and with the adoption of the Swan Street Design and Development Overlay, the Swan Street Streetscape Master Plan will play an important role in informing the public realm outcomes along the length of Swan Street and many of the side streets. There's been a lot of consultation and engagement with the community to inform this piece of work, and I think it's a really great way to be able to move forward on this, and having had the opportunity to engage with many people in the community throughout this process, it's been really fantastic. The proposed amendments that I've put forward tonight in the motion pertain to opportunities to give consideration to a broader range of inclusions, primarily at the detailed design phase, and/or in association with adjacent development sites, including for the likes of provision or exploration for the potential of common utility trenches, undergrounding of overhead services, provision of disabled parking bays and side streets, provision of electric vehicle charging bays and side streets, preferred locations for e-scooters and e-bikes, footpath capacity, opportunity for larger trees, and more vertical greenery. The amendments also seek that Council play a more proactive role in its engagement and advocacy regarding the provision of DDA-compliant tram stops, improving cycling treatment and pedestrian outcomes, particularly under the train overpass, and for the expansion of Wangaratta Reserve. I believe these amendments will result in enhanced outcomes, complementing many Council objectives and community expectations, and further future-proofing this master plan. In closing, I commend this motion to my colleagues for their support.
Thank you, Councillor Crossland. Councillor Lantes.
Yes, first of all, congratulations to the officers for a really amazing piece of work, and I know that Susan has made herself available to go and meet with the community, and it's been really commendable, and thank you very much on behalf of all of us for a job well done. I want to also thank Councillor Crossland for the work he's put into this amendment. It's an amazing piece of work, and I think we all owe you a great deal of gratitude, so thank you very much indeed. What this amendment does is it provides a holistic vision, and it also provides opportunities, dare I say purposeful opportunities that are available when opportunities arise to complete the sort of public realm outcomes that are being listed in this particular document. And that's really important because from time to time there may be grant money available, there may be building works that may present themselves to develop opportunities, and having this shopping list or having this plan in front of us allows us to complete those tasks when the opportunities arise. So having this plan in front of us, which will take us into the next decade, is a really powerful work. So I commend this work, and I again thank the officers, and I again thank Councillor Crossland.
Thank you, Councillor Landers. Councillors, any speakers against? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour. And that is carried. Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Ms. Staines. I'd just like to add my additional congratulations. An excellent report. Very, very excited to see what comes of this. So much opportunity, so many open spaces flagged. I think it says really good things about the future of Richmond. So excellent work to the team. Okay, item 8.3, Planning Scheme Amendment C280 Yarra, 32 to 68 Mollison Street, Abbotsford, panel report. Councillors, would you like a report on this item? Yes, excellent. Mr. Ballack, are you in the room?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Mr. Ballack, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Meg. Councillors, this is the final stage of the amendment. All submitters were invited, were informed of the panel's decision and report, and were also invited to this meeting. In effect, the panel has endorsed Council's position on the amendment that was put to it at the panel hearing. There are some there are some differences between what is existing in the controls and what this amendment will introduce. And the officer's view is that that will be a better outcome and give council more control over the redevelopment of the site. And the report contains a table that outlines the detail of what those differences are. There are 11 submissions to the amendment. 9 of those objected. One, we're not certain what they were actually doing with it, but anyway, and there was a submission, and then one submission supported the amendment. Basically, council really has 3 options. The first is, given this stage, and it's the final step in the amendment process, the first option is to abandon the amendment. The second stage is to not accept the panel's recommendations or make other modifications to the amendment and forward it to the Minister for Planning. The third option is what the officers are recommending, which is that council adopt the amendment and the panel's recommendations and then forward that to the Minister for Planning for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Barlick. Councillors, do I have any questions at this stage, noting we have a submitter as well? No? In that case, I'll go to our submitter, Vicky Grilakis. Vicky, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Chair, we would like to thank, my name is Vicky Grilakis, I'm from Urbis Planning, and we represent the proponent in this instance, the Maidan Group, who have put forward this amendment, and we would like to thank all council officers for the preparation of the amendment and their work and the carriage of Amendment C280. We support the recommendation to submit this to the Minister for a decision, and we note that overall the panel report found that there was sound strategic justification for the amendment and supported it in that respect. This amendment will allow the proponent to provide additional jobs and bring additional people to the City of Yarra and assist in growing the Abbotsford precinct as a major employment precinct as identified in Council's local policies, and in particular the widening of Little Nicholson Street has significant benefits to those beyond the subject site, and will allow improved vehicle traffic through the area. I'm conscious that I've only got a short amount of time, so look, I would just like to thank the councillors for their time, and we respectfully request that it be supported. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Councillors, any questions? No? In that case, I'll seek a way forward.
Councillor Stone has her hand up.
Oh, my apologies, Councillor Stone. I'm getting different virtual signs to what I had earlier today. Councillor Stone.
It's okay. Look, it's a slightly tangential question. I think it's to Mr. Phillips. Having been through this process for this site before, I did despair somewhat at the increase in heights. I understand the rationale of the panel, and but it's been based on quite significant buildings in the area. I have asked this question before. There are no specific planning controls in that precinct. There's no DDO, and I guess my question is this area on the strategic planning's work plan in the foreseeable future? It might be too late, but anyway.
Mr. Phillips?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Stone, it's not in the foreseeable future at this stage. We're certainly concentrating on the activity centres, and it's certainly, we're pretty fully subscribed on all of those, and councillors are familiar with the amount of work in the preparation for a design development overlay, running it through panel, etc., etc. So happy to have a look at it, but it's not on the program at the moment, and in fact, again, it may not be the highest priority, but I'm happy to reflect on that, and I can talk to the team and come back with some further comments to councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Any other questions, councillors? And I've got the list up, so I should be able to see yellow now. In that case, I'll seek a way forward. Councillors? Councillor Crossland. Councillor Crossland, are you moving the officer recommendation?
Yes.
Excellent. Do I have a seconder for that? I'll second that. Oh, sorry, Councillor Nguyen, I didn't see a hand. Councillor Nguyen. Councillor Crossland, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just briefly to say thank you very much to officers for their preparation of the report and the work that's been undertaken for this. And beyond that, look, I appreciate this is a bit of a change, but I think what's been outlined in the report really articulates why that's been proposed. And therefore, I put this to my colleagues to support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crossland. Councillor Nguyen.
Just to top that up, I think it's worth noting that the majority of amendments from that staff put together have been met and, sorry, I'm losing my words today, and supported by the panel, and that's really encouraging to see. So I'm happy to move this motion as well.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Do I have any speakers against? Okay, in that case, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Mr. Ballack. Thank you, Mr. Phillips.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, item 8.4, the 2021-22 Annual Plan Quarterly Progress Report for December. Councillors, would you like an officer report? Yes, Ms. Wyndham, take it away, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Council endorsed an amended annual plan on the 23rd of November to reflect our Council Plan 2021-25 that was adopted on 19th of October. The annual plan includes 50 actions across the Council Plan's strategic objectives. At the end of December, 47 actions had started and 31 or 66% were on track or complete. The report lists the 16 actions that are less than 90% on track, and the attachment includes details for each action, including our end-of-year forecast result. Our half-yearly result has been impacted on by COVID, including restrictions, disruptions to services, our staffing capacity, as well as disruption to commercial, industrial capacity and product shortages. So whilst the result at the end of December is below our annual performance target of 75%, we've done a mid-year review and are forecasting to meet or exceed that by the end of the financial year. I'll hand back to you, Mayor, for any questions from councillors.
Thank you, Ms. Wyndham. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a quick question about the FOGO item. The commentary here is that we're expected to see it back at council in Q3. Can I just check that that's Q3 of this year? It's 1.05.
I'll go to Mr. Weavers on that one.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor, for the question. The intent of that is to say that it would be by March this year. Officers are currently working on a report to brief councillors that may or may not progress to a public report. I mean, that might depend on the briefing and the feedback we have, but the intent of that is to say by March 2022, or end of March 22, I should say.
Thank you, Mr. Levers. Councillor Stone.
Thank you. I've got a question about the water actions. Action 4.12, the Integrated Water Management Community Awareness. I think I asked about this at the last report because it was off track then and it remains so. It's really about the goal and whether the engaging short video is all that's being aimed for in terms of community awareness and with integrated water management in this annual plan year. I think that's probably to Mr. Gosling.
Mr. Gosling.
Mr. Gosling may be able to, and I'm very happy for him if he's able. I suspect he might not have his head across that level of detail just yet in his acting capacity. I am also not able to give a good and fulsome response on that, so I might just take that on notice if that's okay and arrange a response to councillors post the meeting.
That would be great. And a second question in the same area on the Getting Off Gas project, which is also off track or behind time, is expected to make it up by the end of the year. The notes on that, and I know I'm asking because there's a lot of community interest in this particular action, it suggests that the scope's actually been increased, and I wondered if there was any information on that, because that's a positive thing.
Who's best placed to answer that? Officers?
Mayor, again, I'm happy to try and provide a response. I'm sorry, which number was that, Councillor Stone? So I can.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I'm
just
back on in
1.04.
If it was a book, I could flip through it.
Yes, 1.4. I think that does ring a bell.
1.4.
Sorry, if I can just find the notes, and that might help me to refresh my memory on the action.
It's the work of the Building Optimisation Officer.
Oh, yes. Yes, Councillor Stone, I can provide some sort of probably high-level comments in relation to that action. And again, we might be able to provide a bit more detail offline. The intent of that was to say, you know, when we first explored this action, we looked at fairly simple things to, you know, take a kitchen appliance off gas, for example, and replace it with an electric. In some of those investigations, what we've found is there's an opportunity to do more than that, and it might mean, changing the HVAC system or the water heating system or the like. And so what we've sought to do through that process is, undertake all of the work, and very specifically, some of the sites that we're looking at are large sites like town halls or leisure centres, which are hugely complex buildings. And what we've sought to do is understand to the best of our ability what's within our, budget, capacity, and the time frame that we've got to make changes. So that's the expansion of the scope. Is some of those buildings we've realised that we've needed to do other further works to make this work in a way that's efficient, and so that just at times it will increase the value, but probably ultimately provide better value for the council. So I can seek some further specific advice for council, but in general terms, it's understanding where we can do the most good, get the biggest benefit, but sometimes that delays the project.
Thank you. That's excellent. And I'll just add, it's one of the common questions we are asked as councillors. What are we doing to get off gas? Is it happening fast enough? So to know that the scope is being increased is really good news. Thank you.
Indeed. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you. With regard to 4.11 on the delivery of the nature strategy, I'm interested in where it says develop a gardens for wildlife program in Yarra. Does that include implementing that program? Is my question to officers.
Ms. Wyndham, are you able to answer to that, or is that maybe a Mr. Phillips question, or Mr. Lever? You've got your hand up.
Mayor, it probably is a question that I can try and answer. And again, I might ask Mr. Gosling to follow up with his team to provide a bit more specifics. My understanding of the intent of this is that we would work with partners to facilitate that program. So the intent is that we would deliver a garden for wildlife program in Yarra. Now, whether that's officers doing that or whether we're working with externals, I think actually it might be working with others, but the intent is to offer that within Yarra.
Thank you, Mr. Levers. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Stone, is that a new hand? I'm struggling to see you, Councillor Stone. No, it's been taken down. I will seek a way forward. Councillor Stone, and a seconder. Councillor Nguyen. Councillor Stone, over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Wyndham, once more for a very comprehensive outline of the annual plan progress to date for this quarter. It's been an extraordinary 2 years reporting on the annual plan, on 2 consecutive annual plans, one of which was modified mid race, I suppose, and the fact that so few really are off track or not yet started under the conditions we've had with COVID and budget constraints is quite extraordinary. So it's a compliment to the organisation, I think, for soldiering on with some of our most important projects, despite the difficulties we've had, and also to the excellent reporting. There are some fantastic projects in this year's annual plan that really excite the community, and the progress that's being made towards them is very encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. Councillor Nguyen?
I have nothing else to add other than to thank staff for their report.
Thank you. Any speakers against? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. And thank you very much, Ms Wyndham. Adding to Councillor Nguyen and Councillor Stone, it's very comprehensive. It's very good to see. And I was particularly excited to see that Gipp Street intersection is now on track to be finished soon, which I think I've asked about every time for a long time. So it was very exciting. I didn't need to this time. Thank you very much, Ms Wyndham. Now on to item 8.5, the Finance Monthly Report for December 2021 and the mid-year budget review. Councillors, I assume we'll want a report on this one, and I'll ask Ms Chen to take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. So this is the finance report for end of December 2021. As at 31st of December 21, Council was unfavourable to year-to-date budget by 6 million. This variance is mainly driven by two revenue items that were significantly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The first one was statutory fees and fines, which was 8.5 million lower than budget as a result of reduced traffic activity during the pandemic. The second one was user fees, which was 4.5 million lower than budget as a result of closure of key recreation and leisure facilities as required by government restrictions during the pandemic. These unfavorable outcomes were partially offset by operating grants, which was 3.8 million higher than year-to-date budget, and also provision for doubtful debt, which was 1.1 million lower than year-to-date budget. So based on the December year-to-date result, we have also updated our forecast for the year-end full-year result for 21-22. So from a forecast year-end position, Council is anticipating a full-year operating deficit of 2 million, which was unfavourable to budget by 10.8 million. Similar to the year-to-date results, the unfavourable result for the forecast is largely driven by the same revenue items. So the first one was statutory fees and fines. We expect a reduction of 9.2 million from the budget because of decreased revenue from parking meters and infringement notices. And the second one is user fees. We expect a reduction of 5 million because of closure to leisure and recreation facilities. We have also adjusted our forecast for operating grants income, as we are expecting 2.8 million additional unbudgeted grants. However, this does not have an impact at the bottom line because the employee cost and the material services are also adjusted accordingly to reflect our spending on those operating grant income. In summary, we are forecasting a full-year operating deficit of 2 million for 21-22. Based on the forecast financial position, Council does not have any potential to fund additional projects in 21-22. That's a quick summary. I'm happy to take questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Ms Chen. Questions? Councillor Landis.
Yes, thank you to the officer for an excellent report, and in particular the preparation of the financial reports. They're excellent. So thank you to your team. Can you, just for the public record, just comment on capital spending was $11 million compared to the budget $22 million, and I assume there's logical reasons for that, but I was just wanting to put that on record as to what's happening. And you did mention the materials and the employee costs, and yeah, I'll leave that one alone. Just if we just refer to the capital expenditure.
Yeah, so I think in the Capital Works Program report, we can identify that there was lots of delay and or impact on COVID. So the construction industry shut down from the 20th of September to 1st of October. That has delayed a number of projects. All works were stopped during that period and also had a snowballing effect. So scoping works requiring on-site investigation stopped during that period. And there were also supply chain disruption and will also continue to occur, and some subcontractors are renegotiating their signed contract with the head contractor. So we have a number of issues impacting on that. At this moment, because the council's capital expenditure, generally the largest month is May and June, so we do expect higher expenditure during the second half of the financial year, but given the COVID impact, we do anticipate some probably carryovers to the next financial year.
Thank you, Ms. Chen. Any other questions, councillors? In that case, I will seek a way forward. Councillor Landis.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the officers, support the motion, yes.
Move the officer's recommendation?
Yep.
Excellent. And councillor, the seconder? I'm happy to second it. Councillor Landis.
Yeah, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the officers and your team for doing an amazing job under very difficult circumstances, and that can't be understated. I'd also like to thank you for the way the reports are being prepared and the changes that you're making, and they're making them easier to read and to understand. So thank you very much indeed. The challenges going forward are immense. We all know that, and now we have a new challenge, and that is inflation, and we don't know how that's going to impact coming over the next 6 months. So thank you very much for all your work and the effort that you're putting in. We all owe you a great deal of gratitude. Thank you. I commend the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Landis. Don't have much to add, Ms. Chen. Thank you for all your work on this and for your efforts to explain to councillors exactly what's going on in a tricky financial situation. Things are moving all the time, and you're keeping a pace, which we appreciate, and you're helping us keep a pace as well. Yeah, things keep changing. There are a number of underlying assumptions that I think councillors are now understanding well, and understanding the kind of precarious nature of some of those assumptions, and that things, as sad as this sounds, might be worse than they appear, and that there might be some difficult decisions that we need to make. Councillors are able to engage in that, and we're having a series of budget workshops about making sure that we put ourselves in the best position going forward for the future, so that we can keep delivering for our community and ensure that our services stay good, stay relevant, and delivered within budget. So thank you, Ms. Chen, very much for your report, and I also commend this motion. Do I have any speakers against? No? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Ms. Chen.
Thank you.
Okay, we had an item 8.6 on the agenda, proposed discontinuance of road at 1 Stevenson Street, Cremorne, but that has been withdrawn from the agenda and will be considered at our next meeting on the 8th of March. We do not have any notices of motion tonight. Petitions and joint letters. Councillors, has anybody had any petitions or joint letters brought to their attention? No? Questions without notice. Do I have any questions without notice from councillors? No. Delegates reports. I have one foreshadowed, and then I'll throw it open to see if I have any other ones. One from the Metropolitan Local Government Waste Forum from Councillor Stone. Councillor Stone, would you like to introduce that?
Thank you. I will speak briefly to it because it's been circulated and it will be in the minutes. The Metro Waste Forum meets every 2 months. It's a function of the Metropolitan Waste and Resource Group, which is a Victorian statutory body, just for those listening, that's responsible for coordinating and facilitating the delivery of waste management and resource recovery across metropolitan Melbourne. As a result of the new Act last year, the Circular Economy Waste Reduction and Recycling Act in 2021, this is all going to be restructured on the 1st of July this year, Recycling Victoria will be established as a business unit in DELP, and it will be Recycling Victoria which will engage with councils rather than the local Metro Waste and Resource Recovery groups. And that means that the Metro Waste Forum itself will disappear. The Act also includes a requirement for Recycling Victoria to form an advisory committee that will have members with local government and regional expertise, but it will just be the one advisory committee. So the reason I'm bringing this report, apart from the fact that the Metro Waste Forum asks us to table minutes and notes after every bi-monthly meeting, is the fact that the group is coming to an end. It has one more meeting in April, and then that will be the end of it. The last 3 meetings haven't been reported on to Council, and they've focused on some issues that are very important to us in Yarra and across Metropolitan Melbourne, of course. October focused on waste to energy. It's worth noting that this Council does not support waste to energy at the moment, and although it was an interesting presentation. The December focused on the new bill, the Circular Economy Bill, and the implications for local government. It also looked at some Recycling Victoria Council Fund showcase projects, and one of those was what to do with disposable nappies, which is a big problem for all councils, and they can take up a very large amount of landfill. There's a group of councils working on that, and we look forward to the outcome of that. And February last week focused on food and green organics processing, something Yarra is coming to grips with the right model. Many councils, most councils in fact, do have a FOGO of some sort, and we need to get on with ours, obviously. So there was a motion to extend the Metropolitan Waste Forum to July rather than reappointing councillors at the end of last year, and Yarra councillors will know that we extended the current 2 appointees, Councillor De Vietri and myself, as the backup. So I basically move that Council note this delegate's report, and secondly that we also note officers are bringing a briefing on FOGO collection later in February, and finally that Council request a briefing from officers on the implications of the transition to Recycling Victoria and how that will engage with councils before that actually happens in July 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. Councillor Nguyen, did you have a question?
Yeah, through to Councillor Stone. I think you've sort of answered this, but have you seen a terms of reference? Do we have any information about the composition of the new group yet? Or do you know when it's coming?
It will be operational from the 1st of July this year, which is why the other one is disbanding. I don't have details on the terms of reference. If you read through the reports, the other minutes and summaries of meetings that have been tabled along with this, the detail might be in there, but I can find out for you.
Thank you, Councillor Stone. Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Stone, just with regard to the further report you've requested of officers, have you run that by them that that's doable within their busy schedules at the moment?
I think they'll be doing it anyway. They're going to have to. It's a briefing. It's not a written report. It could be an email. We're going to have to be informed, Councillor O'Brien. It's a major change to the industry.
Mr. Levers, did you have any comments on that? Mr. Gosling?
Mayor, I'm happy to just support the comments made by Councillor Stone. This is something that we can brief the Council on, and we would do that as a matter of course.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Levers. Thank you for your questions, Councillor O'Brien and Councillor Nguyen. This is an interesting one. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, particularly the nappy thing. I've been following lots of stuff around that. Mr. Thomas, do I need a seconder to table delegates' report?
Yes, you do.
Okay, just confirming. I thought that was our usual practice, but Councillor De Vietri, happy to? Excellent. Councillor Stone, anything further to say in support of tabling the motion? No. Councillor De Vietri, anything to add?
Just thank you to Councillor Stone for putting together this delegates report. Much appreciated.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor De Vietri. head to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, Councillor Stone. Do I have any other delegates' reports? No. Okay, general business. I have foreshadowed a general business item which I have circulated. Miss Niku, would you be able to pull that up on screen? It's about release of refugees and asylum seekers from detention. I'll just state it. I'll read the actual words of the motion, but I won't go into the background, but I'll discuss them when I'm speaking to it. That the Council, A, advocate to the Minister for Home Affairs and the Minister for Immigration for the release from closed immigration facilities, including the Park Hotel, of around 60 people transferred to Australia from Papua New Guinea, PNG, and Nauru, most of whom have been granted refugee status and have spent much of the past 8.5 years in some form of closed detention. And given Yarra's status as a refugee welcome zone, work with other stakeholders to support those refugees and people seeking asylum upon release to live freely and peacefully in our community. If I have a seconder, I'll speak to that and explain my reasons. Councillor O'Brien, happy to second? Excellent. Ms Niku, do you mind just bringing that down, and I'll speak to councillors about the motion? Thank you, Ms Niku. So this motion came out of the Mayoral Task Force. It has a very long name. Mayoral Task Force working on issues to do with refugees and asylum seekers in Victoria. It does a significant amount of work, advocacy work in particular on this issue. This particular motion is completely in line with previous council views on this topic. In particular, a motion from the 16th of February, so a year less one day ago. This issue seems to be particularly pertinent at this time of year. I think this year it's been particularly brought to the fore by Novak Djokovic's detention in the Park Hotel alongside refugees and asylum seekers who have been there for many, many years. I think all councillors on this line, by virtue of the fact that we moved that motion last year, and also just, I think, general interest, care and review of the media, and the fact that it's on our doorstep in Carlton, are very aware of that issue. These men in Park Hotel, it is exclusively men, have been held for such a long time with absolutely no certainty as to what's going to happen in their future. They're part of a wider group of people who have, the wider group, most of whom are in the community, have no certainty about their future in Australia. A lot of members of the Yarra community really pay attention to and care about this issue because it's a significant human rights violation on our doorstep. I commend this motion to you, and I'm keen to see us supporting the work of the task force in this space. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for bringing this motion forward tonight. I do think it is very important that we support refugees that come to this country, and as the Mayor has previously said, we have passed numerous motions about refugees, including the Billa family, and I just think we really do need to have a more compassionate and appropriate approach to people seeking asylum, and I'm sure that our Yarra community, well, I know our Yarra community also hold this view, so I commend this motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Brien. Do I have any speakers against? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Any other items of general business, councillors? No. Then number 14 is urgent business. CEO, have we had any urgent business notified? No.
No, ma'am.
Okay. In that case, I'll call the meeting closed at 8:27 p.m. Thank you, members of the community who have come along today. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Monitor Bleacher. Thank you, staff. And I'll let you all go this evening. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.